You ever have a moment where a child looks at you with so much fear in their eyes that it shakes something inside you? I was walking out of a downtown cafe when a little black girl no older than 8 grabbed my sleeve with trembling fingers and whispered, "Please, help my grandma. She can't breathe." And listen, the way she said it, soft, panicked, like she wasn't sure adults even cared anymore, froze me right where I stood. Because the street behind her was loud, the city was rushing like nothing was wrong. Yet this one kid looked like the world had just collapsed on her tiny shoulders. Before we dive in, please subscribe for more stories like this, as it means the world to us, and comment your country so we know where our family's growing. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. But something in her voice told me this wasn't the kind of situation you ignore. And I promise you, what happened after changed more than just her life. It changed mine forever. I bent down so I wasn't towering over her and asked her what happened. She pointed toward the alley beside the cafe, her little hand shaking, and said her grandma fell asleep but won't wake up. That phrasing hit me hard. Kids describe emergencies in the most heartbreaking, innocent ways. So I rushed with her into the alley, expecting maybe a faint or dizziness. But the moment I saw the older woman slumped against the brick wall, struggling to breathe, there was no doubt. This was serious. Her chest was rising in sharp, painful jolts, and her lips were starting to turn a shade that terrified me. The girl kept repeating, "She said she was okay this morning. She said she was okay," like she was trying to convince herself. My mind went straight into action mode. I dialed 911 immediately, trying to keep my voice steady while the operator asked questions. Meanwhile, I slipped off my jacket and rolled it behind the woman's head to lift her airway. The girl knelt beside her grandma, clutching her hand and whispering, "Please don't leave me." When the paramedics arrived, they worked fast. Oxygen mask, blood pressure, vitals, everything moved like a storm. And the whole time, the girl wouldn't let go of her grandma's hand. When they loaded her into the ambulance, the paramedic looked at me and said, "We need a guardian or someone responsible. She's in bad shape." The little girl looked up at me, her eyes glassy and terrified, and whispered, "She's all I have." Something inside me tightened. I didn't plan on being anything except a stranger who stepped in, but life doesn't wait for you to be ready. Sometimes it drags you into a moment because you're meant to be there. So I got in the back of the ambulance with them. During the ride, the paramedic explained that the woman wasn't just having trouble breathing. She was in the late stages of untreated heart failure. Hearing that made the girl's face fall like she'd been punched. She asked if her grandma was dying, and the paramedic didn't answer right away. That silence said everything. At the hospital, things got even tougher. Doctors rushed her into emergency care, leaving the girl and me in the waiting room. And that's when she told me the part that broke me. She said their landlord raised the rent, and her grandma was working extra shifts even though her heart was weak. They couldn't afford her medicine anymore. She was trying to keep them both afloat. The girl said, "She doesn't sleep much because she says resting won't pay the bills." It hit me like a punch to the chest. This wasn't just a health emergency. This was the kind of everyday struggle people ignore until it's too late. Hours later, the doctor came out with a serious expression. He said the woman survived, but she needed long-term care immediately. Without treatment, she wouldn't make it. The girl just curled into my side, holding onto my shirt, her tears soaking through. And right in that moment, something inside me shifted. I realized I couldn't walk away. Not after seeing what this kid had been carrying all alone. So I asked the doctor for a list of everything the woman needed. Medication, oxygen support, cardiology appointments. And then he gave me the number that made my stomach drop, the cost. But here's something the girl didn't know about me. I wasn't just some guy leaving a cafe. I was the owner of the very building the cafe was in. Billionaire money never mattered to me much, but right then, it mattered in the most important way. So I told the doctor to put everything under my billing account. Medication, treatment, aftercare, whatever she needed. And when the girl looked up at me with wide eyes, confused, I leaned down and said, "Your grandma took care of you. Now let me help take care of her." The next day, the grandma woke up. Weak, tired, but alive. The girl rushed into the room, hugging her so tight that her little body shook with relief. The grandmother tried to thank me through tears, saying she didn't know how to repay me. I just shook my head and told her, "You already did." She asked for help with a bravery most adults don't have. But this story didn't end in a hospital room. I bought them a small house, nothing over the top, just a cozy, safe home where rent wasn't a threat, and the girl didn't have to worry about losing the only person she had left. I hired a full-time nurse and arranged for weekly grocery deliveries so the grandmother didn't have to work herself into the ground anymore. And the girl? I got her into a school with scholarships for kids in tough situations. Watching her walk into her first day with a bright backpack and her hair tied with little purple ribbons, man, that did something to me. Weeks passed, and their lives slowly shifted back into color. The grandmother began recovering. The girl started smiling more, laughing more, acting like a kid again. And one evening, when I visited to check on them, she handed me a little drawing she made, a picture of her grandma, herself, and me standing in front of their new house. Above it, she wrote in uneven, shaky handwriting, "Thank you for helping us breathe again." I kept that drawing, framed it, put it on my office wall where I could see it every day, just to remind myself that sometimes the smallest cry for help can change the biggest part of your heart. Because in the end, this story wasn't about money. It wasn't about being a billionaire. It was about a little girl who refused to lose the only person who ever loved her right. About stepping in when someone needed you most. About letting your heart lead before your logic catches up. And honestly, helping them didn't just save her grandma's life. It saved something in me too. If you're part of our family here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know where you're watching from. Because stories like this remind us just how powerful kindness can be.